Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm with a very special guest, the one and only Marc E. Bassy. I just wanted to point out I'm terrible at names. So when I reached out to you guys, I literally added a fucking E to like the Marc E. Bassy interview. So it was EY. So I apologize for that.
I'm aware my name is not it's not too easy. People mess it up often. I always hold my breath before they introduce me because I've been introduced as Bassy so many times.
Like a fishing company.
And it hurts. Like, I'm not an avid fisherman. It's
man.
So, you did it right. At least you pronounced it right. That means a lot.
Thank you. No, I like to do a lot of research on all my guests. I watch a fuck ton of interviews, whether I like the interviews or not. And what I've noticed, it's we're gonna have to keep it short on this one too. But like all your interviews are like 7 to 22 minutes long. I calculated exactly. And I have to say, literally, after like listening to all your interviews, I think you're literally like a really deep guy. But like the last interview you did with like Nick Cannon.
Oh yeah.
Like the things like I noticed, and this like it leads into a question. You'll start talking like briefly about like your album even or your past, and then Nick Cannon or someone will be like, "Okay, back to the album." Why do you think that is? Like you'll start saying like, "Yeah, my postmodern depression. It's about anxiety. Why the title. This is my family." And then,
well, like even if you're on like Joe Rogan, most people just watch short clips that are chopped up on YouTube. So I think as an interviewer, people try to find concise highlights, and they almost like self-edit even as the interview is going on, to prevent people from dragging on and saying too much. And certain people, like if I was interviewing or if you were interviewing like Barack Obama or something, I would let him talk forever. I'd say, or whatever, like a fucking president or a diplomat, But me, myself, I would try to be concise and speak my mind clearly and not drag on too much.
But that's what I try to like explain with all these interviews. Like what I want for Seattle is because right now we don't have like a huge interview hotspot. No one comes here to make the rounds. Oh shit, I just released my new album. I need to go by Seattle. It's not like we have a breakfast club out here, but that's what I want to do. I want to make a platform that's a mixture of the Joe Rogan experience where it can be an hour to 3 hours long, but also be the breakfast club where it's like about hip hop,
Okay.
But like what I've noted, like a recent interviews have been like Deontay Hitchcock, who's on the Dreamville album, Black Party, who's close to Childish Gambino. And the thing that I hear about what they say is either people don't want to interview them or they're too busy. But I think you guys have a voice and that needs to be heard too. Like you're, in my opinion, when it comes to guests, like the features you have on your album, you have some huge features that are making like big impacts in society. Like Ty Dolla Sign, if I had to make like a college report or an essay, my essay would be how Ty Dolla Sign is the modern Nate Dogg. Like he's on every single feature. He's close with Snoop Dogg, so that's already a +1 right there. You got Mozzy on your newest album, who's like the biggest influence in Sacramento right now. He's the hugest guy in Sacramento. You got 07
One of the hardest rappers in the world is Mozzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you deserve that spotlight. You think to have those type of features.
No, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Do you think...
I'll talk as long as you want me to.
Thank you. Do you think it comes with...
As long as you give me some tequila.
There you go. I'll give you an individual one.
For shots?
Yes. Where's the lime?
Where's the tequila?
No.
Yeah. But do you think there's like tiers to stardom where you feel like someone has more of a voice than another person? Or why do you think... I feel like that is in the music industry in general.
I think I decided unknowingly a long time ago, just in my subconscious somewhere, that I was going to be dedicated to music and not think twice and just go all in. And you hear people often say that you have to enjoy the journey and cherish the moment, those kind of things. And I think I was lucky, and I just always have done that. And I've never really, like, sometimes I wish I was Drake or whatever. I wish I was with Macklemore earlier. We had a recording session, and I was looking at it like, he's got fucking lot of money. And I was like, but all in due time. Everyone's on their own timeline, and so I really like don't lose too much sleep over it. And even as I've like grown up, and I probably, I could have a wife and family now. I'm of age at least for like my own, for my own self. And I've sacrificed a lot to be in music, but I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the day-to-day process of creating music. And I've never felt like I took a backward step. I always feel like I've been growing.
Right.
And so, I'm blessed. So I feel good about it, and I try to not put too much emphasis. Like, my favorite artists of all time weren't necessarily the most famous artists of their generation. I like people who maybe they had hits, they were popping, maybe they were rich and they left their family with a lot of money, but they're not like, there's a lot of people that were number one in 1985 that no one gives a fuck about now, so on. So I just try to like be in line with the music that inspired me growing up, classic soul music, golden era hip hop music, and just like follow the code that I was raised on, and just like be myself as much as possible.
Do you think you're in a sense an underdog?
Yeah, for sure. And my favorite song is Sly and the Family Stone, Underdog. So I always want to be an underdog. I would never want to be not like that. I want people to underestimate me, to doubt me, and prove them wrong.
Well, you always like fight to be the toughest.
But those type of people, like the people that aren't in the media all the time, I think those are the people who have the most to say. Because, like Pete Davidson, for example, he stayed out of the media so much now. And
his new stand-up was fire.
Look how much he has to say, though.
It was bad?
It was so good.
It was so good.
It.
The new Pete Davidson
and like I don't give a fuck what Ariana said. I'm channeling his big dick.
Did you watch?
I believe his dick is big.
I don't know, but that shit was fucking hilarious.
It was so good.
I love that whole special was amazing.
Did you watch the
side note? Sorry.
Did you watch the Charlemagne interview with him?
No.
But that's the type of stuff that I find really important. Like, I feel like
Charlemagne, like, obviously I would love to be on the Breakfast Club, but I feel like he'd just be looking at his computer and just pulling people up, like, right when they get there.
That's why.
And he's like, when you were with Ariana Grande, you said such and such, and like, he just kind of.
But that's the thing. When he got away from that, when he has his own podcast, which is like the Charlemagne interviews, which is like on YouTube.
Is that the Brilliant Idiots?
No, that he has the Brilliant Idiots and another podcast where it's just him, like being like a Gayle King.
Charlemagne, he's the go. He's the go. I can't say shit about Charlemagne. Yeah.
But
how do you get away from Ariana Grande? If that's your podcast and she's doing that, how do you get away from it? You don't.
But I think relationships are just a stepping stone. What do you think about relationships?
I think that relationships are the best teacher in life, period. Your first relationships with your parents, with your siblings, they kind of inform you and how you're going to deal with everything, really. And then, that's why you got to, like, you have to be all in your relationships, because you'll learn so much about yourself, about how to treat other people. So I think they're, imperative to personal growth.
One of my last interviews was this guy, and he was saying that his family was foreign, so he had to be like the male patriarchy in his family, because he was just his mom and his two sisters. His sisters moved out when he was like 13. His mom was Cambodian, so she only spoke that language. Mm-hmm. So he had to start paying the taxes and the bills at a very young age.
The taxes?
Yeah, because his mom didn't know any English. And he had to, and then this interview just came out, and it's like a big thing that he said was he always loved music and dancing, and he knew that he had to help support his family. So he fucking went on Craigslist to find a record deal. And that shit, of course, bombed, but he would take that approach just to support his family. And from listening to your music, it seems like you had a semi-tough childhood. How did that help you with your music, or build a grind for you, this mentality of starting a band when you're young, keep growing, being on a label, then being independent? making all these great connections?
I had a somewhat turbulent early adolescence, and it was definitely the premise for like my writing, I guess. Was that like I had, I was like an angsty 13, 14, 15-year-old, and I had a lot to get off my chest. And when I was little, I listened to music that made me feel like, oh, this is how you like channel that type of feeling. But I had I went to like a hippie school when I was little in San Francisco called Waldorf School.
Okay.
Where they like don't let you watch TV. You can't wear name brand clothing. It's real like it's tripped out. And I went there. So I was, around like, you don't even read till you're like in 3rd grade. They teach you how to knit, how to crochet, how to dance, how to play music. You good?
The coronavirus.
The cops are scary.
She has hands.
Hold your breath right now.
Where's the mask?
It's fine.
This is how you know if you have coronavirus.
She doesn't have.
Dude, I think your eyes are bleeding.
Oh my god.
I'm just kidding.
Let her live.
Okay.
So anyways, yeah, so I had some interesting things happen to me at that time, and it it made me who I am, and it made me comfortable with because I went to the school, combined with the things that happened. It was like I already had a built-in way to channel these emotions, and if I didn't have that, I would probably be a huge dickhead at this point in my life. And I don't know how, I really don't know. I feel like there's been a couple of times when I was like, should I be like just a fucking asshole to the world? But because I had that training to learn how to be sensitive and vulnerable and not be too afraid of that. I was also raised by mostly all women. Yeah, so it kind of helped me. Like, I'm still, I'm an asshole, sure. But I have a soft side that I'm not afraid of, and I know how to at least be myself artistically. So,
do you think you deliberately choose more upbeat beats and then try to put messages into the upbeat beats? Do you think some artists say they try to mask like their feelings with using an upbeat type sound?
Well, I'm not like the new wave is really like on their emo hype.
Right.
I wasn't into that way back in the, when I was like 18, I wasn't into it. I'm not, like, no shade, I love. Like, great artists are always great artists. But just like following the wave of like, I'm fucking, crank my auto-tune and give me a trap beat and talk about how sad I am. Like, unless it actually resonates with me, I'm not checking for that. So,
right.
I don't like deliberately, I just make music that is in line with what inspires me already and what I was raised on and what, I think I've developed my own sound almost at this point, and it's like soulful melodies, pop chord progressions, and my shit has to knock. So
for sure, I respect the artists that make a sound that represents them. Like when you hear this beat, it represents them, not like the average artist that like uses the same like California type beat and then yo, you know who it is? Like, you make the sound part of your voice.
Thank
when
you,
it comes
that's
to, like, your album, like, you switch between having reverb, auto-tune versus just your raw vocals. Like, your album's a roller coaster.
Thank you. I tried. That was deliberate.
Yes. And this is just what Wikipedia said, but it said that you started roughly around 2007. And
that's a fact.
That's a great time to start music, though. So you've been like the peak 2007, 2005 era.
I was I was doing music before the internet almost. Like nobody, like even before, not before MySpace, but like before YouTube and Instagram, I was in a band, and like you had to go to like open mics. You had to pass out flyers. We would go to colleges and play at sorority houses. They were like while they were having lunch. They'd be like eating and be like play fucking Jack Johnson songs and shit, and be like, we're having a concert at the Roxy on Friday. And I did that for 2 or 3 years, No one ever came. And then literally one day, my band had a show. It was just like 400 kids were there.
See?
And it was fucking lit. And I was like,
Yes.
this is the connection back then. There was nowhere to know online on your phone. Like I had the T-Mobile sidekick, you know? So like you couldn't go in there and know if you were popping. You literally didn't know until the night of your show. And like the first show I had that was lit, it was like, oh, it's done. And then people started flying in from every record label. I was in a band called 2 AM Club. This is before Marc E, Bassy. And it was just like, I'm not gonna say it was better, but it was the vibe of a show. Like there was nothing to post a show on. Like you would only go there just to be excited about the music that was playing. And I feel like when you come to my show now, I still remember what that felt like, so I can still give that to kids who have no idea what that's about. And I go to shows, and you know, like shows for the most part, there's a huge lack of connection because people don't know what that even means or what that is. But since I was there then, and I'm still, you know, I look younger than I am probably. I know like about that. I know about playing like when no one is recording anything. They're just there because that's their entertainment. So I try to combine, you know. It's like J. Cole's talking about being in the middle of two generations. Like we're the same age.
Right.
Like I was there with him at South by in 2010 playing and shit.
And see, that's the type of things like I want my audience to understand, because the main people I try to focus on are the underdogs, people in Seattle who are trying to make it, to try to make some buzz, some noise. And I don't think a lot of artists try to focus on like that grind they put in, those years and effort of people not showing up to their concerts or their concerts.
Been a grind, folks. Jay-Z said the smartest thing we ever did was not quit. So that's... I live my life by that.
What are something that you wish someone had told you when you first started out, even when you were starting your band?
Just don't be such a huge bitch about everything. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, don't think that you're great or special. Just, like, work and get to your money. Get to the bag. Because, and I don't mean that in a crass, nasty way, but you gotta go. If someone would pay you to do something, following it is not unartistic. Like, all the best artists, Beethoven, Picasso, Stanley Kubrick, they get
Stanley Kubrick.
Tupac, whoever, they get to the bag. Like,
Yes.
I'm me. I'm not going to not be myself in any scenario. I'm going to be myself. So if I'm alive on this earth and I promise to myself I'm going to be who I am, who's going to pay me to be myself? And where is it? Like, I got to chase that down and find that. And so being about your money, like, it cuts all the bullshit out. If you're like sitting there like, I don't know, like, if this is like fulfilling my creative integrity, it's like, shut the fuck up. I did that, you know, for some time. And I, like, when I look back, like, if that shit was on Instagram, I'd be horrified. Like, that was stupid. And I was privileged to do that at the time. And I just think, like, that wasn't a day when, like, if you got a record deal, you were, like, thought that you had hella money. And we had, you know, and that, like, nobody was like, you have X amount of money and you have to, like, turn it into something. You got to go chase down your bag. And that's just, like, now I realize, like, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do my best and represent myself the best way possible at all times.
Right.
Like, that's my commitment to myself. So I have to figure out how to generate income doing that. And it's not even a business thing. It has nothing to do with business. It's like, it's just honoring what I do. And the people that do that the best, like, some kids just have that drilled in their brain and people will be like, oh, he's a little dickhead. But when I see a young kid that values himself enough to realize, like, no, I'm not going to do that unless they pay me. Like, I know I'm not going to put that on unless I'm sponsored by it. It's like, damn, you're a G for doing that. And I appreciate that. I respect that. And I think I had a little too, you know, my first band was like a little too suburban. I don't know. We just were like
Right.
We didn't get that until after. And then when I was like on the couch, living, you know, at 25, all my homies, I was like, oh, now I have to like actually figure this out, and it triggered my artistry. So I would tell myself.
Is there a personal goal you've had since you were young that still keeps you motivated? Not like buying a yacht, but something like deep that actually keeps you going, that's been around for a while in your heart.
I mean, I wanted to be on stage in front of people, as many people as possible. And it's been, you know, my modest fan base has been accumulating, growing. It's at an all-time high. And I think we've got, you know, another year or two of like growth, and who knows what'll happen. But I definitely always wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be heard, I guess.
Is social media important to you?
I mean, it's important. Like, I want people to hear me, so I want my social media to be popular. But in and of itself, like, my Twitter got hacked and people were writing like crazy shit about like my dick and like all this wild shit, and I reposted
Pete Davidson's bigger than yours.
Yeah. But I reposted it because like it doesn't like affect me in my real life. Like some kids, that's like a big deal. Like, I've never looked at I would never look at like who's following me, or like, especially not who like liked my pictures, nothing like that. I don't like tap in on myself on social media. I'm grown. Like, I'm not worried about that.
Well, I don't think we can have that long of an interview, but if you're ever back in Seattle, I have like a few more questions, but for real, if you're ever back in Seattle, you got to come to the station I'm at or my studio, and we have to have a full-on Blake Burton experience.
Okay, man, I got you, man.
For sure. And another thing, what is like some advice that you'd give an artist that wants to be signed to a label? Because right now you're independent, right?
Yes, I'm independent. I mean, there's nothing about, like, no label is going to sign you unless you're already popping at this point. There's no, like, music is democratized. Artistry is. Photography is. Like, you could go to fucking film school and know how to do everything, and then someone can be taking bullshit photos if they want on Instagram and be more popping than you. So you have to do it for the work, for the love of the craft, for sure. And just like the same advice I would give myself, don't treat it like you're Beethoven necessarily. Like, you have to have a sense of humor, and you can't take yourself too seriously. Do your thing, but know that who knows what's gonna pop. You know, don't do it just because you want to be famous. Like, don't do it for social media, for sure. Do it because it makes you happy, because it fulfills you. And honestly, if you keep on doing it, nowadays there's so many different little niche markets out there for anything that you're interested in. So if you're really passionate, it will show and it will continue. And like, my little cousin, she goes to Marymount College, incredible singer-songwriter, and she's like, what do I need to do? It's like, you don't need to do anything. Keep going to college, produce music, write music, take cool pictures on Instagram, put it out. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's no record label.
Right.
A record label can't do anything at this point. Mm-hmm. All they can do is, once you're already popular on TikTok, on Instagram, come give you a bag to try to take something from you. Right. So it's like, if you look at any of the new Trevor Daniel, Arizona, all the, like, anyone who popped off in the past year,
they're dope.
They came up before they were even signed, you know? Right. Or maybe some of them, but like, there's like a record label. Record labels do not have to exist anymore. If they exist, they could literally be in a computer. They do not have to have physical space in our world. No offense, but they really don't. They can just, like, an algorithm could peruse all of social media and figure out what's popping and send out a mass email with money attached to radio stations to promote it. Nobody, like, that shit's antiquated. And like, I don't even say that with shade. Whether or not I would re-sign to a label for any, like, maybe it's always a conversation, but I've been on 2 record labels, major ones with great people, but it's not what's happening anymore. And it really, like, there's no more like artist development. You develop yourself in front of the world at this point. That's just what it is. So
I'm all about cutting out the middleman in every way I can, and that's why even you can even think of a radio station as a record label, like radio in a sense, especially in Seattle, and that's why I'm trying to revamp it in any way I can. But in a sense, you'll always hear people saying radio's dying in Seattle, and in a sense, it is anywhere.
You guys never had radio in Seattle. No one's ever cared about pop radio in Seattle. You guys been cooler than that forever, because you guys been way ahead. There was Cube, there was radio stations, but like, what? No, it's Cube. Well,
did you see that live thing? What was that live thing you did with them? Like,
I've been on radio. I've been on radio in Seattle, but I'm just saying, like, pop radio in Seattle has never moved the needle nationwide. Seattle's always been. How did Macklemore sell 70,000 albums? You know, with the heights in the first week, and then people were like, "What the fuck?" It's because radio. Seattle was already ahead. The West Coast is always ahead. San Francisco is usually ahead, but there's not as much of a music scene. But the Bay is.
And when it comes to like rec labels and stuff, how many minutes? 1 minute? Shit. Damn it. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm telling you, you gotta come back to Seattle.
I will, man. I will.
But what is some final advice that you have for up and coming Seattle artists, creators, influencers?
Seattle artists, be authentic, be yourself. Don't try to wait for a record label or something to like set off your career, because that's not what's going down. Be yourself, put your shit out. Don't be too hard on yourself, and enjoy it while you're making it.
Yes. I'm sorry this had to be short, but like I said, I really want to give artists like you a voice, because you have a voice more than just music, you know?
I appreciate it.
So, this is the Nast podcast with
Marc E. Bassy. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.